So today we talked a little bit about plotting in class, but we didn't quite get to all of the things I wanted to, and I just want to make this quick video so that you can finish your homework number 2 early. I'll give us some time on Thursday to talk about plotting again and practice, but I want you to have these resources now. So what we did in class was we defined this variable x1. I'm going to go from 0, I'm going to use a step size of 0.1, and I'll go to 1. So this vector has 11 values, 0, 0.1, 0.2, 0.3, 0.4, 0.5, 0.6, 0.7, 0.8, 0.9, and 1. It's 11 values. And I'm going to plot y equals x squared. So I need to make another vector y1, and I'm going to put x1 dot caret 2. And the reason I need that dot is because x1 is a vector, and I want to square each element inside that vector, so I need to do element-wise operation. If you just put caret 2 without the dot in front, MATLAB will give you an error, and this is why. So now we want to plot these two sets of data, really. So I'm going to put plot x1, y1. And this gives you MATLAB's default line width and color. So it's pretty thin. It might be a little bit hard for you to see. So in your homework, I ask you to make a plot with a line width of 2. So let me show you how to do that. I'm going to do x1, y1. I'll put a comma, and then in quotes, I put line width 2. So that makes the line a little bit thicker. It might be hard for you to see at this moment, but you'll see that the line looks a little bit jagged. So there's like a corner here at 0.1, there's a little corner here at 0.2. And that's because I'm not using that much data. My step size is not that small. It's only 0.1. There's only 11 pieces of data here. If I wanted a smoother line, I would use a smaller step size. So I would use something like 0.01. That would give me a much smoother line because I have a lot more points in between that I'm connecting. So you think of this as like connect the dots. That's how MATLAB plots things. It just connects the dots between the data points that you give it. In this case, I gave it x values and the corresponding y values. Okay, so now I'll tell you how to change the color. So x1, y1. Let's say I wanted this plot to now be red. I could either type a red, or I could just put an R. MATLAB has a list of default colors if you look at the plot documentation. And I still want the line width to be 2. So line width 2. And you have to put the color before the line width specification. MATLAB will get angry if you try to switch these, so just keep that in mind that the order matters. So here we have our red solid line with the width of 2. You can try out different line widths. In the homework I specified the number 2, but in any other project you can try different line widths. It corresponds to a certain scaling of the pixels, so I think that's also in the documentation if you're curious about what the number means. And there's a huge number of different things you can use to customize your plots. You can use the color, you can use the line style, so that's like a dashed or a dotted line, or you can change the marker style. So in this case I have no markers because I just have this line here. If I had markers, I'll show you that now. So if I just wanted to plot x1, y1, and let's say I wanted to plot a bunch of circles at those data points rather than a line connecting them, I'll just plot them with circles. So that's pretty faint, but hopefully you can see it. Let me try to plot it with a thicker line width. Okay, so I made the line width a little bit thicker. You can see that there's little circles at every data point. If you wanted the circles and the line connecting them, I could put a little dash before that circle. And now I have the line connecting the points as well as the data point indicated by a circle. You could also combine things like the color. So if I put G here for green, I could get a line that connects these circular markers in a green. This is kind of a terrible green, but it's very bright. It's a green color. So I encourage you to run the command doc plot, or you can search the plot command in this search documentation window up on the top right, and just to see what the different options are. So if you scroll down pretty far, they've got a bunch of examples you can try out for yourself. If you scroll down, you'll see there's lots of different documentation about what the different line styles and markers are, what the colors, default colors are. So look around at this, and hopefully that helps. The one other thing I wanted to talk about, I guess there's many other things, but if you wanted to plot more than one plot on the same figure, so let's make another vector x from 0, this time a step size of 0.1 to 1, and I'm going to make y2 equal to sine of x2. That's my second function that I want to plot. So if I want to plot both of these on the same graph, let's see here. I'm going to shrink this a little bit so that you can see the figure once I plot it. So if I wanted to plot these on the same graph, I could do plot x1, y1. Let's say I want that to be red. And then I could plot x2, y2. Let's say I want that to be blue. And I want both line widths to be 2. So that's one way to do it. You could use one plot command, and you just do your x, y, whatever color you want, x, y color. And then the line width applies to both of them. That's one way to do it. That sometimes confuses me because I always forget where the specifications are supposed to go. So another way is to plot the first function that you want with whatever specifications you want. Maybe I want this one to be aligned with the 2 with a dashed red line. And then you use the command hold on. That tells MATLAB to freeze that figure and to plot something on the same figure. So the next line I type is going to plot on the same figure. And I'm going to do blue dotted line. Maybe in this case I wanted the line width to be 3 for some reason. So that's another way to do it. I usually use this method, hold on. And that'll, whatever you plot next will also show up on this. So you only need to use hold on once, and it will plot everything that you subsequently put in the command window on top of this figure. Maybe this is the last thing that I want to tell you, is that you can add labels to your plot. So I believe I asked you to add labels. The way to add a label on the x-axis is to use x label, parentheses, and in quotations, it doesn't have to be x. It could be whatever label you want to be here. But if I do that, a little x shows up on the bottom here. So this could be corresponding to whatever data it is that is on the horizontal axis. But in this case, I'll put x. And then y label plots a y, or puts a little y on the y-axis. Title, 2 plots, I don't know, I'm just going to call it that. Title with parentheses and quotes puts a title on top of your figure, so you can see it says 2 plots there. And then legend, this is a nice command. So I'm going to say this is y1, y2. So legend will give you a little legend, exactly what it says, and it will tell you which line corresponds to what value, depending on the order that you put it in this legend. So the order that you put it here corresponds to the order that you plotted the functions in. So I first plotted y1, that was here, x1 versus y, or y1 versus x1. That's the first thing I plotted. That's what this position inside the legend command. So if I had put y2 here, it would have said y2 because it doesn't know any different. But just make sure that you're labeling things correctly. I think that should be enough for you to do your homework. We'll talk more about how to plot and the different things you can do with your figure, but I wanted to give you a sense of just the basics today. So let me know if you have any questions.